Hello everyone and welcome back to the Nerd Den here once again, and in today's video we are going to be talking about my predictions for what is going to be happening in the Christmas 2026 special for Doctor Who, because next year Doctor Who will be returning next Christmas, and that seems like a very long time away, but in the meantime we've got The War Between Land and the Sea, which will be airing this Christmas, and I imagine with Doctor Who filming stuff there's going to be loads of things to talk about. There's probably going to be casting announcements because we literally don't know anything in terms of what this special is about. So, that's going to be really interesting to talk about in the upcoming months. And obviously the future of Doctor Who will probably be formally announced as well. We do know that the BBC are planning at least one more series. It probably will go beyond that, but it looks like Russell won't be leading that series. But we'll be talking about that in a moment. So with all that being said, let's get into the video and let's talk about my predictions for what could happen in next year's Doctor Who special. Okay, so first up, I'm going to get this one out of the way. I do think we are going to be seeing David Tennant return as the 14th Doctor. Yeah, I mean, the writing's on the walls there, the ending of the giggle, and obviously the whole concept of Regeneration, David Tennant will be back, because he was given an open-ended exit for a reason. It kind of felt like a break glass and emergency style scenario where, if the show ends up in a rut, or for an anniversary, you can just bring back David Tennant with little to no explanation instead of the whole timelines out of sync sort of stuff that you would traditionally get in multi-Doctor stories. However, with this special, and obviously Billie Piper coming back, which I'll be getting onto in just one moment, I do feel like having David Tennant come back would kind of be a swan song for the 14th Doctor. There's been a lot of fan theories that the 14th Doctor and the Rose Doctor, as I'm going to refer to her as, will simply combine and make the next Doctor, and therefore close up any loose ends regarding the 14th Doctor story arc, and also Regeneration as a whole. And I do feel like that would be kind of a fitting end to this loose end, really, which is the 14th Doctor. And, hey, as much as loads of people are being critical about the heavily reliance on David Tennant in Doctor Who, such as promotional material, bringing him back constantly in TV or Big Finish or video games, it is still nice to see him come back, because, let's be honest, David Tennant himself is a good actor, and he is one of the most popular incarnations of the Doctor, next to the likes of Tom Baker. So having him come back would be absolutely fantastic, if you pardon the pun there. But I do feel like out of everything that's going around in terms of predictions and stuff, David Tennant coming back will be the most likeliest, because this will also very likely be the swan song for the RTD2 era, because I do firmly believe, and this is my next prediction, that this will be the last Russell T Davies written episode. And I do feel like Russell could still have some involvement in Doctor Who in the future, maybe like an executive producer perhaps, but I do feel like Russell's time on Doctor Who in terms of being showrunner is a done deal. I do feel like this era has been a flop. Russell did previously say that he was writing for seasons 3 and 4 before the whole Disney deal went upside down. But I do feel like Russell leaving now would be kind of the breath of fresh air that the show needs, because since Russell returned, fans wanted it to be exactly the way it was in 2005. No, the show should be written differently, and Russell has certainly written for the show differently, but you could also argue that he hasn't really written much for the show whatsoever, because the storylines have been really lackluster. And my hot take is that the standalone episodes have been hit and miss. There's been some really good ones that stood out, but the overarching stories and the finales are where this era has fallen apart massively and has damaged what have been some decent seasons, such as season 1 and specifically season 2, which I thought was getting off to a really strong start with Lux, The Well, Lucky Day was pretty good as well, and it just kind of fell apart with the finales, which definitely overshadowed what were some decent seasons. And obviously with some improvement, season 3s and 4s could have been pretty good. However, it seems like, Russell, I think, needs to take a step back from Doctor Who now, personally. And I do feel like that is certainly on the cards, because he is writing other projects now as well for Channel 4. And I do feel like the show does need that, fresh set of eyes to have a brand new take on Doctor Who, and potentially someone who may not be a fan of the show. Okay, so let's talk about the big elephant in the room, which is the return of Billie Piper. Because Billie Piper returned at the end of the Reality War, and it wasn't confirmed if she was going to be the next Doctor. But it looked like she was going to be the Doctor because she appeared at the end of the Regeneration. However, there's been some speculation, there's been some comments by Bad Wolf executives that she could be returning simply as Rose Tyler. Now, my prediction is that she will be back as the Bad Wolf entity. I did previously make a video on this like a while ago, but I do think that because of the time vortex energy and the Doctor's regeneration energy basically breaking the TARDIS console during the Reality War, perhaps the Bad Wolf entity has been let loose and is simply taking over the Doctor's body, but not in a malicious way, like perhaps just due to an accident, and the Bad Wolf entity will seek out the Doctor, but there is already a Doctor that's already in the universe, and that's the 14th Doctor, and that's how we get this multi-Doctor story. Like, I do feel like we are going to be getting a sort of multi-Doctor story with the Christmas special because of the Bad Wolf entity meeting the 14th Doctor. It's so easy to write for. There you go. And eventually, as I did previously mention, I do feel like they will literally join up to make the next Doctor. But perhaps we might not see who the next Doctor is until maybe a casting announcement's made. Like, we might get a Fade to Black regeneration, which I think the Reality War could have benefited from, because Russell seemingly didn't have a plan for who Billie Piper is going to be. I mean, he must have now. I mean, the Christmas special is being written for. But I do think that, the next Doctor, if production on the new season doesn't begin next year, or late next year, or whatever, I imagine they'll just do a Fade to Black regeneration, because I can't imagine Billie Piper would want to stay actually as the 16th Doctor for like a season or more. Like, I feel like it will unfortunately just be for this special, even though thinking about her as the Doctor does kind of bring up some really interesting concepts, because Billie, as an actress, she has gone on to do some really unique roles, and I do feel like she could bring a lot to the character of the Doctor, but unfortunately I don't think it is meant to be. And I do feel like for casual audiences who are already confused anyway, it's just going to confuse them even more. So yeah, I feel like this being a one-off thing, and the 14th Doctor joins up with this Bad Wolf entity Doctor, and it also eliminates some loose ends regarding Bi-Generation and the Billie Piper Doctor. Now, as I head towards the end of my predictions, I do feel like we are finally, and this should happen, I think, this should be a priority. If it's not in this special, it should happen very soon, because the can was opened during the last season, but Carol Ann Ford should return as Susan. And yeah, I think there's already a lot going on in this special, or what could be happening in the special, judging from my predictions. Like, this might not simply be a 60-minute special that we normally get at Christmas. It could end up being a 90-minute one, which I think would definitely benefit the show. But having Susan return would perhaps make a lot more sense than you think, because yeah, her return was already scrapped in the Reality War, but maybe having Susan return perhaps to help the Doctors combine, like perhaps Susan has some knowledge on Bi-Generation and that she can help fix it, and perhaps Susan maybe could sacrifice herself to help the Doctors combine and unite and to eliminate the whole Bi-Generation process. Maybe, again, that's just very bare bones, I'm not the writer for the show, but it would make a lot of sense to have Susan be some sort of academic when it comes to regeneration, and therefore Bi-Generation as well. Maybe Susan studied it, and that's why she was reaching out to her grandfather, because you know, she knows how to fix the problem and stuff. And kind of also maybe some of the Time Lord stuff that was introduced during the Reality War. Susan might have some knowledge on that as well. Maybe. I don't know. But it would be nice to see Caroline Ford return one last time and finally reunite with her grandfather as well. You know, sharing some scenes with David Tennant and also Billy Piper as well would be pretty cool. Because, yeah, Susan's been longly requested to return, and she did briefly return in season 2, but so far that's been a wasted potential for sure. Now, villains. The Daleks. This is more of me being the king of wishful thinking, but the Mirror did kind of hint at it, but I would love to see the Daleks return. I have missed those Pepper Pots. I absolutely love the Daleks. I love them to pieces, and it would be so nice to see them return. Like, the Daleks could easily fit into this story. They could be villains, perhaps. Maybe because of the consequences of the Reality War. Obviously, the Doctor shifting reality and stuff. Perhaps the Daleks are aware of it. You know, the Daleks do have capabilities of sensing timeline changes and stuff. And yeah, the Daleks could simply appear and, you know, cause havoc in the universe. Like, maybe that could also be a consequence of the Doctor shifting reality in the smallest way. You know, he brought back Poppy, but maybe that's also allowed the Daleks to reign supreme as well, and is a consequence of the Doctor's actions. And the best way of dealing with Daleks is the bad wolf entity. So, yeah, definitely something to think about there. But also, yeah, the Daleks haven't been on screen properly for 3 years, so we need them back. By that special, it would have been 4 years, so we need to see the Daleks back. And I do think now, like, especially if this is going to be the last episode in the RTD2 era, maybe you could just bring them back in the bronze design, like, one more time. You know, yeah, just bring them back. Because I do feel like if there is going to be a redesign, that will simply be in the new era of the show, whatever the next season ends up being. Or maybe, you know, to have that sense of continuity, you could maybe do the redesign. I don't know. But if they were to return, I do feel like it would just simply be the bronze design at this point. But who knows? The show has been surprising, you know, at various points. And then finally, my final little prediction would be a Ncuti Gatwa cameo, or maybe like an extended cameo, because again, this special, if it is 90 minutes, there's already a lot going on from what I've said, and some of the predictions I do feel like are pretty solid, like David Tennant returning, and the Daleks, I do feel like there's a lot of potential for them returning as well, especially with Russell T Davies responding to criticism if he does end up doing that. But I do feel like Ncuti returning would also give him the chance to fight the Daleks. Now, would this be, you know, the 15th Doctor from a earlier point in his timeline? Not necessarily, because the Bad Wolf entity has taken over the Doctor's body. Now, perhaps at some point in the episode, the Bad Wolf entity somehow lets go of the Doctor's body or whatever, and Ncuti is back. Like, Ncuti makes a surprise appearance in the episode, and he gets to have some on-screen time with fighting the Daleks. But perhaps that could be his way of, again, wrapping up everything, getting the opportunity to fight the Daleks, because Ncuti has said that he would have loved to have had an adventure with the Daleks. And then he joins up with the 14th Doctor, and then boom, we get the end of the RTD2 era, and we get a brand new Doctor, whoever that might be. Now, yeah, all of that does sound really exciting. But could it happen? Now, Ncuti has gone on to do various other projects. He has the potential to go really big in Hollywood as well. So, could it happen? I would love it to happen, because I do feel like the 15th Doctor is a Doctor that I have enjoyed for the most part. Obviously, there's some criticisms that I've had, but I do feel like Ncuti was wasted with a lot of the scripts that he was given. And it would be nice to kind of have Russell look at all the criticisms and deliver some excellent material for Ncuti, even if it is for limited screen time, and also have the opportunity for him to fight the Daleks. But again, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, especially with all of the stuff that I've said. But yeah, thank you very much for all support as always. If you are new around here, please click that like button and subscribe for more nerdy content, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you very much for all support as always, and goodbye for now.